The knock on Samuel Thompson's hotel room door at 11:47 p.m. was soft, almost hesitant. After 18 hours serving tables at the Meridian Hotel in downtown Atlanta, the 34-year-old waiter's feet ached and his white shirt bore the stains of a busy Saturday night. But something about that gentle tapping made him pause. When he opened the door, two small faces looked up at him through the dim hallway light. A girl, maybe 7 years old, clutched the hand of her younger brother, who couldn't have been more than 5. Their clothes were torn, their shoes had holes, and their eyes held the kind of deep hunger that Samuel recognized from his own childhood in rural Mississippi. "Mister," the girl whispered, her voice barely audible above the hotel's humming air conditioning, "we haven't eaten in 3 days. Could you maybe help us?" What Samuel did next would set in motion a chain of events that 22 years later would bring a gleaming Rolls-Royce to his hotel's front entrance, carrying passengers who would change his life forever. But on that humid Georgia night in 1987, all he knew was that 2 children needed help, and he had just enough heart to provide it. Samuel Thompson had been working double shifts at the Meridian Hotel for 3 years, saving every penny he could spare after sending money home to his aging mother in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Growing up as one of 8 children in a sharecropper's family, Samuel understood hunger intimately. He remembered the nights when his mother would divide 1 can of beans among 10 people, making sure her children ate before she took even a single spoonful. The hotel wasn't fancy by Atlanta standards, but it was clean, and the management treated their staff with dignity. Samuel had worked his way up from busboy to head waiter, earning respect from both colleagues and the business travelers who frequented the hotel's restaurant. The 2 children standing in his doorway introduced themselves as Maya and David Rodriguez. Their mother, they explained, had died in a car accident 3 weeks earlier. They had been staying with a distant relative who had recently evicted them, claiming she couldn't afford to care for them. With no other family and too afraid of being separated in the foster care system, they had been surviving in the abandoned building next to the hotel. "We saw you through the restaurant window," Maya explained, her small hand never releasing her brother's. "You were nice to everyone, even when they weren't nice to you. That lady who yelled at you about her soup being cold, you just smiled and brought her a new bowl." Samuel's heart clenched as he looked at these children who reminded him so much of himself and his siblings decades earlier. David, the younger boy, hadn't spoken yet, but his large brown eyes followed every movement Samuel made, as if trying to determine whether this stranger could be trusted. "How long have you been watching me?" Samuel asked gently, kneeling down to their eye level. 2 weeks, Maya admitted. "We were trying to figure out which grown-ups might help us. Most people just walk past us like we're invisible. But you're different." Samuel glanced down the empty hallway, knowing that hotel policy strictly prohibited unauthorized visitors in employee housing. But policy seemed insignificant compared to the immediate need standing before him. At that moment, he made a decision that would define not just that evening, but the trajectory of 3 lives. "Come in," he said quietly. "Let's see what we can do about getting you some food." Samuel's room was barely 200 square feet, furnished with a twin bed, a small desk, and a mini refrigerator. To Maya and David, who had been sleeping on cardboard in an abandoned building, it seemed like luxury. They stood just inside the doorway, afraid to touch anything. He opened his mini refrigerator and took inventory. Leftover fried chicken from the hotel restaurant, some mac and cheese, 2 apples, a carton of milk. It wasn't much, but it was more food than these children had seen in days. As Maya and David ate with the desperate efficiency of people who didn't know when their next meal might come, Samuel learned their story. Their mother, Rosa Rodriguez, had worked as a housekeeper for several wealthy families in Atlanta's Buckhead neighborhood, saving money to bring the children's father to the United States from Honduras when the accident happened. "Mama always said that America was a place where hard work could change everything," Maya said between careful bites of chicken. "She said if we were good and studied hard and helped others, good things would come back to us." David finally spoke, his voice so soft Samuel had to lean forward to hear him. "Is that really true, Mr. Samuel? Do good things happen to people who are good? The question hit Samuel like a physical blow. Here was a 5-year-old boy who had lost everything, asking whether the world was fundamentally just or cruel. Samuel thought about his own journey from the cotton fields of Mississippi to this hotel room in Atlanta. "I think," Samuel said carefully, "that good things happen when good people decide to make them happen. Sometimes the world is hard and sometimes people are mean, but there are also people who choose to be kind, even when it's difficult." The next morning brought complications Samuel hadn't anticipated. Hotel management discovered the children when housekeeping supervisor Mrs. Patterson knocked on his door. Samuel's heart raced, expecting to be fired. But something remarkable happened. Mrs. Patterson looked at the children's clean faces, at the way they had carefully folded the blankets Samuel had given them, at the small pile of drawings they had made of the hotel and its staff, and her expression softened. "These are the children who've been living in the abandoned building next door," she said quietly. Within an hour, word had spread through the hotel staff. Instead of condemnation, Samuel found himself surrounded by support. The head chef, Marcus Williams, appeared with fresh pastries and fruit. The night security guard brought coloring books and crayons his own children had outgrown. Even the hotel manager, Robert Hayes, who everyone expected would fire Samuel for policy violations, surprised everyone. "Samuel," Mr. Hayes said, "what you did was against hotel policy, but it was also the right thing to do. Let's talk about how we can make this work officially." The most unexpected development came when Mrs. Patterson mentioned the situation to Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, a prominent pediatrician and regular guest who had been trying to adopt children for years without success. Dr. Morrison asked to meet Maya and David. The meeting took place in the hotel's conference room, with Samuel present as the person the children trusted most. "I've wanted to be a mother for a very long time," Dr. Morrison explained gently. "I have a big house with lots of books and a yard where you could play safely. But most importantly, I believe every child deserves someone who will love them." Maya asked the question that revealed her wisdom beyond her years. "If you adopt us, does that mean Mr. Samuel can't be our friend anymore?" Dr. Morrison looked at Samuel with understanding. "Mr. Samuel saved your lives by caring enough to help you. He'll always be part of your family no matter where you live." The adoption process took several months. On the day it was finalized, Maya and David insisted Samuel be present at the courthouse ceremony. As they officially became Maya and David Morrison, both children hugged their new mother and then ran to Samuel. "You're still our first dad," David whispered, using the title he had begun calling him during the months of transition. "And you'll always be our angel," Maya added, tears streaming down her face. 22 years passed. Samuel continued working at the hotel, eventually becoming the restaurant manager. Maya graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Medical School and completed her residency in pediatric surgery. David earned degrees in business and social work, then founded a nonprofit organization focused on helping homeless children. Dr. Morrison had passed away 2 years earlier, leaving her children a substantial inheritance, and a letter reminding them never to forget the man who had first shown them that strangers could be family. Samuel was wiping down tables in the hotel restaurant when he heard the purr of an expensive engine outside. He glanced through the window and saw something that made him stop mid-motion. A gleaming silver Rolls-Royce Phantom had pulled up to the hotel's front door. The hotel's doorman rushed to open the car door, and Samuel watched as an elegant young woman in a tailored business suit emerged, followed by a tall, well-dressed man. Both were scanning the hotel lobby, clearly looking for someone specific. Samuel's heart began to race as the pair walked toward him. The woman had the same intelligent eyes and determined expression he remembered from a 7-year-old girl. The man had grown tall and broad-shouldered, but his gentle smile was exactly the same as the 5-year-old boy who had asked whether good things really happen to good people. "Mr. Samuel?" Maya's voice carried across the restaurant, and suddenly Samuel's careful composure crumbled. "My babies," he whispered, dropping his cleaning cloth and walking toward them with arms outstretched. The reunion took place in the middle of the hotel restaurant. with guests and staff watching as Dr. Maya Morrison and David Morrison embraced the man who had changed their lives with a single act of kindness. Samuel held them close, marveling at the successful adults they had become. Maya reached into. "We've been planning this surprise for months," David explained, his voice thick with emotion. "Dr. Morrison left us a letter when she passed away. She made us promise that we would never forget to honor the people who helped shape us." Maya reached into her purse and pulled out a thick envelope. "She also left specific instructions for us to do something special for you, Mr. Samuel." The envelope contained a check that made Samuel's knees weak, enough money to live comfortably for the rest of his life. But more than the money, it contained a letter from Dr. Morrison that Samuel would treasure forever. "Dear Samuel," the letter began, "you didn't just feed 2 hungry children that night in 1987. You showed them that love exists in the world, that strangers can become family, that kindness is never wasted. They have become extraordinary humans because you first saw them as worth saving. This gift is not charity. It is a small payment on a debt that can never truly be repaid." But the surprises weren't finished. Maya and David had arranged for Samuel to be honored by the city of Atlanta for his years of quiet service to others. Over the decades, they had discovered, Samuel had helped dozens of people in small ways that he never talked about. The Rolls-Royce was a gift for a special day designed around Samuel's happiness. Maya and David drove him to Mississippi to visit his childhood home, to the cemetery where Dr. Morrison was buried so he could pay his respects, and finally to the groundbreaking ceremony for the Samuel Thompson Center for Homeless Children, a facility David's nonprofit was opening in Atlanta. "Every child who comes through those doors will hear your story," David promised. "They'll know that sometimes help comes from unexpected places, and that the kindness they receive should inspire them to help others when they grow up." Today, Samuel splits his time between working part-time at the hotel by choice and volunteering at the center that bears his name. Maya visits him monthly, bringing her own children to spend time with their Uncle Samuel. David has named Samuel as godfather to his twin daughters. The story has been told and retold, inspiring similar acts of kindness throughout Atlanta and beyond. Samuel keeps the pictures from that Rolls-Royce day on his desk, not because of the luxury car or monetary gifts, but because they represent proof of something he always believed: kindness planted in love will always find a way to bloom. In your life, what small act of kindness could you offer today, not knowing how it might change someone's tomorrow? Sometimes the greatest gifts are given by those who have the least and received by those who need them most. The love we share always finds its way back to us, often in ways more beautiful than we could ever imagine.